Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Tuesday. It's Daryl here. It is bright and freaking early, man. It's 3 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, I'm still not sure how I'm going to approach this video. Most of all, I'm not sure how I'm going to title this video. I want to talk about Tommy Lee and his appearance on Bill Maher and his claims recently. I'm bouncing back and forth between calling it what I've gone over this for a couple hours now, and I've looked stuff up, and I want to call it the title of the video. I call BS on Tommy Lee's claims. He was recently on Bill Maher, and some of the stuff he said on there. I want to talk about that, and a couple of things I learned in recovery. Next Monday, I celebrate 17 years on October 23rd. It'll make 17 years. I've been completely clean and sober since October 23rd of 2006. So next Monday, I'm celebrating 17 years, completely clean and sober. Not one puff, not one pill. The only time when I had a complete hip replacement, of course, I had to have some pain medication. They demanded it. And that was only for a couple weeks, and that's it. That's it. No, nothing for 17 years. And I have some issues. Another thing I've learned I've been to probably well over 200, 300 AA meetings, NA meetings, and one of the things I learned is, or one of my beliefs is, you don't question somebody else's sobriety. Whatever it takes to get somebody clean, I use the 12 steps basically in NA and MAT, medically assisted treatment, methadone. And whatever, like Audrey, my ex that passed away from COVID 2 years ago, she was more of a faith-based. She went to I think it was called Teen Challenge, I think it was called. I don't know why it was called Teen Challenge, because it was adults in rehab, but it was a faith-based. It is a faith-based recovery system, And what I learned, you'll question somebody else's sobriety. So I don't want to do that with Tommy Lee, but I have some problems with some of the stuff he said. I feel uncomfortable with some of the stuff he said, the way he said it, and the claims he made, and I'm going to talk about that. I'm still not sure how I'm going to title this video. Okay, like I said, I'm coming up on 17 years clean and sober. Here's one of the first things that I noticed. Okay, so I looked this up. How long has Tommy Lee been clean and sober? Because he's doing this interview on Bill Maher, and it looks like he's saying he's been clean. He's coming up on a year clean and sober. I've said this in other videos, and for my experience, 100% of the time this is true. When somebody's actually clean and sober, they will remember the last time, their clean date. They will remember the last time they used, specifically. When I found when people are being dishonest about being clean and sober, they'll say, I've been good for a while. I know I've been doing good. And they don't name an actual day. Like every time I come on, October 23rd, 2006, last time I used, I know my clean date. And I'm sure there's exceptions to this rule. And I can't find the exact clean date. Usually if Tommy Lee was clean and sober, he'd say, I've been clean and sober since bam, so I got this many days, this many weeks, I know I got 17 years. I know it to the day, so that can be either here or there. His demeanor in this video. I like Tommy Lee. I've seen Motley Crue at least 5 or 6 times. I saw him with Ozzy. I actually got autographs from both Motley Crue and Ozzy before backstage. I like him. I've always liked him. He's like one of my favorite rock stars. And I like the second band he made after Motley Crue. I can't remember the name of it now. It kind of had a rap metal feel to it. Anyway, that being said, in this interview, though, his demeanor, I understand he's a rock star and, he's lived a different life and everything, but just the way another thing I learned in my recovery is you don't glamorize the use of, the stuff I've used. And in this interview, he says, the fun he had with alcohol, and he talks about how good it made him feel and stuff like that. And it's usually you don't hear that from somebody that's really clean and sober. Just both for themselves. Once you become clean and sober, you realize it was poison. and you were lying to yourself, and the drug was lying to you, and what you thought was fun was actually a psychological issues you had. And I'm not just saying this from a 12-step point of view. The stuff he's talking about and the way he's saying it and the way he's kind of obscure, this is what I had a big problem with. He says he drinks 2 gallons of alcohol a day. I'm sure everybody saw that. Okay, then Bill, listen carefully, because I watch this over and over again. And he says he drinks, yes, he says, I swear to God, I drink 2 gallons of alcohol a day. And then Bill Maher says, I know a big bottle is a quart. Listen closely to what Bill Maher says. He doesn't say, because the biggest bottle is a half gallon. And alcohol doesn't come in gallons. So Tommy Lee says he drank 2 gallons a day. He doesn't say 2 bottles, but he says 2 gallons. And then Tommy Lee goes, the kind with the handle, 2 gallons a day. So I get the feeling that he's thinking about half gallons, because that's the biggest, and that's like 4.6. It's just under a half gallon of alcohol. It's not actually a half gallon. It's 0.46 gallons. So 2 of those would be 0.9, almost a tenth of a gallon less than a full gallon. 2 of those. And Bill Maher says this. He says, I know a big bottle of alcohol. Then Bill Maher says a quart. He says 4 quarts make a gallon. And Tommy Lee says, yeah, and it sounds to me like what Tommy Lee is saying here is really half gallon. And I looked that up because I've been to over 200 NA meetings, and never, ever in my life, ever have I heard anybody coming close to drinking anywhere near that. And anybody that brags about it on top of that, it's just, it is demeanor. And, like I said, I understand he's a rock star and everything. I looked this up, and there's going to be links below. The most I ever heard anybody, and like I said, I've been to over 200 NA meetings with, the most full-blown alcoholics you could ever imagine. And the most I remember them saying is maybe a fifth a day, or maybe slightly more than that. I don't think I ever heard anybody even say more than 2/5 a day. And that's not even a half gallon of alcohol. If you look this up, I got several links below. And one of the links down below says that anybody that drinks 5 to 8 drinks, like a good, let's say 8 to 10 drinks every day for 10 years, 100% chance of developing fatty liver disease or something else, problem with the kidneys, the heart, the brain, because it affects, alcohol severely affects, it poisons all the organs in the body. And it kills brain cells, basically. So this claim, first of all, it sounds like he's saying 2 half gallons. And I don't even believe that. It's not possible. Like I said, the links are down below. A human being just can't survive drinking that much alcohol a day, which brings me back to the whole point of him being clean and sober. A person that's usually clean and sober, even just for a year, wouldn't glamorize that, because then it makes it sound, because you think about other people and you realize, you usually surround yourself with other people that are clean and sober. Most people, you can't stay clean and sober especially for the first year, when you're hanging around people that are still drinking or using and aren't being truthful. And if he's been going around saying that he's been drinking 2 gallons a day and everybody isn't correcting him on that, it just, something doesn't seem, it doesn't make sense. It's and I'm taking into account that he's a rock star here. The next thing too is what he claims is, I guess, is an MRI. He says he had a full body scan or whatever you call it. And I understand we're dealing with a different animal here, a rock star, but he doesn't even know. I think he's referring to an MRI. And nowadays, some people can request getting a full MRI. It's extremely expensive, and private companies do it. So him being a rock star, he could get this done. And the fact that the doctor would do a full MRI and just go, and then the doctor would say, "Oh, you're good." After that, if somebody's going to spend $5-10 grand or whatever these MRIs cost, the fact, I just don't see a doctor saying, "Oh, you're good." For a 60 or 61-year-old rock star that's been partying his entire life, I got to call BS on this. I do. I hate to say that. I ended up in the hospital. I'm going to talk about this real quick. Back when I was about 22 years old, when I first started drinking, when my full addiction hadn't even blown up yet, I was at a keg party, one of my friends. I think I was about 22 years old. And I'd been taking a lot of aspirin at that point. Also, I want to mention this. I went to a head shop, and they used to sell this stuff called incense. It was a white powder, and on it, it said not for human consumption. But everybody knew that people used it for cut because it looked like a certain substance. And actually, if you did consume it, or you did take it in, it numbed up your nasal cavity in your mouth. And like I said, it said not for human consumption right on the container. And people would use that to cut certain substances. And I remember buying some of this and using way too much of it for purposes. And so I went to this party, and I got sick. I drank. I got sick. I drank. I went, when I went nauseous, I threw up. I drank more. The next morning, I went to work. This is a completely true story. I almost died. I started bleeding internally. I had a massive GI bleed. I was at my architectural office. I ran to the bathroom. I filled the toilet up with blood. I went to the hospital. I went to the walk-in center, and I got sick there, more blood. They took me by ambulance to the hospital. I was in intensive care for 3 days with a full, massive GI bleed. And I kept drinking from that. But that was early on in my whole, I just have to call BS on this. I do. The biggest thing is I can't find the clean date, the exact clean date. Tommy Lee, I don't see him saying I've been clean since this day. The way he talks about this, just his demeanor, the way he glamorizes, it's like he has this nostalgic like he remembers in a nostalgic way his drinking days. And most alcoholics, most people that have managed to stay clean and sober for a year just don't do that. They don't say how they fell in love. They'll say how they fell in love with it, but they'll say how they realized it was poisoning them. And it just doesn't, something doesn't sit right with me. Then there's the whole gallon thing, the 2 gallon thing, and that's just impossible. You'd have to be freaking Superman, literally Superman, to be able to, it's not humanly possible for somebody to drink 2 gallons on any day, let alone every day. It is not. The links will be down below. He's lying. I don't know if he knows he's lying. I don't know if he's still using. I get a bad feeling. I do. If this was somebody, if this was a friend of mine and somebody I was talking to, honestly, in my heart, I'd have like a 70-80% feeling that they're not really actually completely clean and sober. I hate to say that, but that's how I feel about Tommy Lee and his interview on Bill Maher. I'll be back later with another video. Recovery is possible. 17 years coming up on 17 years clean and sober. Have a good Tuesday.